Well, I want to be, again, a peacemaker, and I want to keep us out of war. But sometimes to do that, you have to have a very strong country. You have to have a very strong military. And as I said, we have a much stronger military than anyone would know. We have the best equipment. And I bought a lot of it. I rebuilt our military in the first 4 years. I rebuilt it. We gave a lot of it away to Afghanistan, to the Taliban, stupidly, but that's a very small amount relative. It was billions and billions, but it's still a very small amount relatively to what we built. But I largely rebuilt our military. Now I'm going to have to do it again because so much has been given away, so much has been treated so badly. But to keep peace, you really have to, I have a thing, strength through, and I mean it, you really have it. You have strength, and you need the strength, but it's really peace through strength, because without the strength, it's going to be very hard to have peace, because you're going to be taken over, bad things are going to happen, so you really want to have peace through strength, and that's where I've done it. Having strength, having power in that sense to protect yourself and your people is a very important thing. Hopefully you don't have to use that power. I will tell you, I was dealing with President Putin very successfully on denuclearization. We were talking about it very seriously, and then COVID came and lots of things came, and we had also talked to China about it. Now, Russia and us have the biggest nuclear by far. China is not close, but they will be close. In 3 or 4 years or 5 years, they'll be equal. But we were going to talk to China, and I spoke to President Xi about it very successfully. I think we were going to denuclearize it. We had to get the smaller nuclear powers, of which there are 4, 3 maybe, but 4 probably, to do something. We would have been able to do that. But I was having very strong talks with President Putin about denuclearization. And, you know, if you're president, you get presentations about what we're building, what we're having, the power of weapons, the power of many things besides weapons per se. When I saw the power of nuclear weapons, and we can never let that happen. If that happens, the ball game will be, the world will be destroyed. The power is so enormous. You look at Hiroshima, you look at Nagasaki, multiply that times 500 times, and the world would be destroyed. So you want somebody as your president, or you want somebody as your leader that understands that. We just can't let that happen. We can't let other countries get nuclear weapons. Not only Iran. Iran is a good example, and maybe the one that people think about, but we can't let that happen. The power of weaponry today is so enormous that the world would disintegrate, so we can't let it happen.
Mr. President, if you had to describe the United States of America in just 3 words, what would they be?
In 3 words?
3 words.
Love, respect, and strength. That's a tough question. That might be my best answer, Yasser. That reminds me of high school, that one, but that may have been the toughest question, actually. Do you think Joe Biden could have done that? I don't think so. I don't think so.
We're almost at the end, Mr. President, but talking about the United States of America, what is one cultural habit in the US business that the rest of the world could learn from? What is the best practice that
Well, I think we love our families, but I think a lot of the world loves their families. You know, I was speaking to the head of Mexico because I complain constantly about people pouring in. Now our border is the strongest border we've ever had. We've gone from the worst border ever in history to the strongest border. But I was speaking to the president of Mexico, a very wonderful woman, actually, and I said, we were talking about drugs. You can't let people come through your country and come into the country. You know, I was not that nice, but they understood what I was saying. And she said something that really got me. She said, I said, you're not a big drug-taking nation? And she said, no, we are not a consumer. And I said, a consumer, what an interesting word. We're not a consumer nation. We're not a consumer of drugs. I said, what an interesting, and why is that? She said, well, we have very strong family values. I said, but we do too. We do too. We have very strong. Our families are devastated by what's happening with fentanyl, and China will not be doing. We're going to make a deal with China. They were not letting that happen anymore. And I had a deal, by the way, before I left. I had a deal with President Xi where they were going to give the maximum penalty to anybody making fentanyl and sending it into the United States. And their maximum penalty is the death penalty, and it would have stopped. But when the election turned out to be a rigged election, but that's okay. When an election turned out to be, it was an election that shouldn't have happened. All the things that happened. I'll give you an example. We wouldn't have had October 7th, Israel attack. We wouldn't have had Ukraine and Russia fighting. We wouldn't have had inflation. We wouldn't have had all of these things that, happened. But in speaking with her, she said about family values, I said, well, you're not really saying anything there because we have great families too. We have great family values. She said, plus we advertise a lot. I said, ooh, you mean you advertise about how bad drugs are? Yes, we do. We spend a lot of money on advertising. And I said, unbelievable. That was such a great conversation because we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars advertising how bad drugs are so that kids don't use them, that they chew up your brain, they destroy your teeth, your skin, your everything. And I thanked her for that. I make so many calls and I never learn anything from anybody. I know everything and I never learn anything from anybody. And I spoke to this woman. As soon as she said it, she didn't have to say exactly what. I said, exactly, what a great idea. And I think we're going to have, and I saw pieces of it, we're going to go in with $100 million and then another $100 million initially. But I saw some of the ads and they are really violent. I said, you have to make them strong. Your skin practically comes off after a period of time. You lose your hearing. You lose your teeth. It is terrible. And we show this happening to people. And I think we're going to, we did very well with, we had blue ribbon committees headed up by the First Lady of the United States and a lot of other people that, they have no idea the viciousness of these cartels and these people. And they're smarts. They're very smart, tough people. Making a fortune, by the way, an absolute fortune. But we got it down 18%, which was a record. But 18% is not great when you think about it. I think we could get it down 50 or 55 or maybe even 60% with advertising. So she really gave me something. I was going to call her and tell her that she did, but now I don't have to call her because she's going to be seeing this right now. So to the President of Mexico, thank you very much. I appreciate it. But we're going to do a great advertising campaign saying how bad it is, how drugs are so bad for you.
My last question, Mr. President. You have mentioned briefly in your speech about the legacy. What would you like your legacy to be, if you can tell us more about it?
That I came into a country that was great, but is in trouble. And I made America great again, and I got it out of trouble, and people respect America now, and we were a country of peace, and we brought peace to the rest of the world.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.